bringing dirty oil if they come. With a pipeline through the country if they come. They'll be bringing dirty oil to pollute our water and soil. They'll be bringing dirty oil if they come. They will all mess up the climate if they come. No way out of global warming if they come. There'll be droughts and floods and fires in spite of climate deniers. There'll be droughts and floods and fires if they come. We don't need or want that oil from the north. It is time for us to seek a cleaner source. Clean source. We must work for wind and sun, and we know it can be done. We don't need or want that oil from the north. We asked President Obama just to say very clearly to Trans-Canada, no way, no way! We will occupy the street and we won't accept defeat till the end of Keystone Pipeline makes our day. Hooray!
Good evening. Could I have your attention as we get the meeting going? Good evening and welcome to First Presbyterian Church. My name is Mark Burnham. I'm one of the pastors here, and we're glad to be able to host this event tonight on short notice, and glad that you found us and got notice of the meeting. This congregation has had a long history of connection to creation care and environmental work, and our creation care committee has been vital in getting this together, so I want to thank everyone for gathering. Just a couple of little logistics. You found your way in. Obviously, if anyone needs to use a restroom during our time here, the door back there on my right, on your left, just out in the hallway, there's both men's and women's rooms are available there. We're going to be lighting candles a little bit later, which we do at the church often. Usually we have fire extinguishers around during that time. So just be careful when you do that, just of your neighbor, that we do have some experience with that. Just hold it up straight so you don't, we don't want to have any more excitement than we need tonight. But thank you all for gathering, and we're glad to be part of this event this evening. And I'm going to turn it over to Anna Jane, and she's going to take the next step. Thank you.
I just want to say special thanks to our hosts for letting us do this so last minute. Special thanks to all of you for coming so last minute. We planned this in 3 days. And I think we have an incredible turnout for 3 days of planning. And I really want to thank everyone who was involved in pulling that together very last minute over the weekend. It was stressful, but it was good, and we needed to do it, and we're all here now. So bear with us. It's not the most organized event, but it's going to be really good. So I'm going to introduce the speakers. Our first one is Reverend Steve Runholt from Warren Wilson Presbyterian. He's on the steering committee of Green Congregations. He's a long-time, very passionate activist on these issues. So thank you.
Thank you, Anna Jane. I'm glad to be here on behalf of my congregation, Warren Wilson Presbyterian, as Anna Jane said, and also representing Western North Carolina Green Congregations. Mark mentioned, and by the way, I would also like to add my word of thanks, Mark, to you and your congregation for providing this space. Mark mentioned the long history First Presbyterian has with environmental issues. This room actually has a long history of its own. This is, some of you may have been here for this. This room is where we celebrated some years ago the recognition of Wangari Maathai. She is the founder of the Green Belt movement in Kenya, and certainly the first environmentalist to win the Nobel Prize for Peace for her efforts to build a more just and sustainable world. I know Richard was here. Anybody else here that night? Anyway, so this room we're building on that legacy here tonight. So to get started this evening, I'd like to offer an invocation, and I'll invite you to pray in whatever way, join me as we offer this, and to pray in whatever way is meaningful to you, or to ponder, or to reflect on the reasons we're here tonight and how you might be involved in this effort. So hear these words as we open our proceedings this evening. Empower me to be a bold participant, rather than a timid saint in waiting in the difficult ordinariness of now, to exercise the authority of honesty rather than to defer to power or deceive to get it, to influence someone for justice rather than impress anyone for gain, and by grace to find treasures of joy, of friendship, of peace, hidden in the fields of the daily ground you give me to plow. Amen. I'll just invite us to observe just a moment of silence. So the chance to shape the future comes along very rarely. And that's true even for the President of the United States, the most powerful person in the world. And it's even more true for ordinary folks like us. And yet, that is exactly why we're here tonight. Just to be clear, by this, I do not mean the chance to make history. I mean the chance to shape the future. To shape, literally shape, what our country and even our world will look like in the decades and centuries to come. For example, what will our coastlines and the Earth's polar regions look like 20 years from now when we look down on them from space? Will lower Manhattan and Miami and New Orleans and Hong Kong still be visible, or will they be underwater? Will the Earth still have polar ice caps? What will our weather patterns look like? Will superstorms, massive hurricanes, killing blizzards, devastating typhoons, will these regularly fill the skies in the years to come, in the future? And the air over our cities, will it be clean and clear? Or will it be so dense and dirty that we can see it? And if so, how will we breathe it? Most of us are here tonight because we oppose the development and approval of the Keystone XL pipeline. We are parents and children, teachers and students, married and single, gay and straight, religious and not. We are people of faith, people of conscience, which is to say we are ordinary people from all walks of life. And we are not alone. I'm told that at least 230 similar vigils are planned either for this evening or shortly, boasting some 70,000 people who share our concerns. By joining our voices together here tonight and adding them to the voices of thousands of other ordinary Americans all across the country, we, together, can do something extraordinary and rare. We can shape the future. We know what we're up against. We know that even in our thousands, we, the people, are the Davids in this effort, and that we find ourselves now face to face with Goliath. We are not naive. We know how this works. We know that energy companies and big oil, as they say, or as it's called, are spending millions of dollars to lobby our leaders, including our president, to gain approval for the Keystone Pipeline. They are doing this to realize billions of dollars in profits from the development and sale of tar sands oil. We know this is wrong. It's wrong because our clean water and our clean air, our climate and our coastlines, these are priceless gifts entrusted, in my view anyway, entrusted to us by the Creator, and when they're gone forever. And so to sacrifice them in the service of corporate profits, maximizing corporate profits, is unethical and unjust. It is wrong, and we know it. These same companies are paying PR firms millions of dollars to convince the American public that the Keystone XL pipeline is safe and that we need to let them develop the tar sand oil reserves to fuel our way of life. We know these claims are false. We know that tar sands oil is dirty, that it's the most carbon-laden crude oil in the world, at least the world that we know so far. And so we know that burning billions of barrels of it will exacerbate and accelerate climate change. And we know that no pipeline is completely safe. Current pipelines in the US and Canada have already leaked massive amounts of oil into local aquifers, poisoning water supplies in North Dakota, Alberta, Arkansas, and elsewhere. And we know this too is wrong. That to bend the truth to your own purposes when the health and safety of our children and our community, of ourselves, is at stake is unethical at best. And so we are here tonight because we believe that if the people will lead, the leaders will follow. We are here tonight to rise up, to join our voices together with ordinary Americans all across the country, to say no to the approval of this pipeline and its dirty oil, the energy of the 20th century, and yes to investing in new technology and in clean, safe, and renewable energy for the 21st century, to say no to the lobbyists and the PR firms and their bogus claims, and yes to the truth, to say no to what's wrong, yes to what's right. And we are here tonight because we believe we can shape the future. And because we intend to do just that.
Hi again. I'm introducing myself. I'm Anna Jane Joyner. I'm the campaign coordinator for the Western North Carolina Alliance. Climate change is my greatest passion and very much my life's work to date. I've worked a lot with faith communities on this issue. That's kind of my niche, but I've kind of worked across the board. I will warn you that I wrote this in about 20 minutes, my little talk. So it's not my best work, but it's good information. So I wanted to share this with you. This is a picture of me chained to the White House fence with an odd assortment of environmental leaders and celebrities and actors and climate scientists and Taylor Swift's ex-boyfriend. So you might wonder what a pretty ordinary lady from the South, the preacher's daughter, my dad's a good evangelical pastor, ended up doing, chained to the White House fence. And I will tell you, I was there protesting Keystone XL pipeline, as my handcuffs note. And there's that's why we're all here today. I'm not the only one in this room who has been arrested for this issue. Raise your hand if you have also been arrested. Yeah. There's this growing movement of people who have really really decided that this is the great issue of our generation. This is a line in the sand issue, and that we as conscious, ethical people who want to leave our mountains beautiful for future generations and our coastlines accessible, and we don't want to wish harm and devastation onto people all over the world, we have to stand up and we have to say no, that we're not going to stand by idly and watch this happen to our planet. So I just wanted to, my kind of piece in the presentation is really making the connection between Keystone and climate, because I think some people still don't really understand that. So I just wanted to kind of go over the basics. It's not the most sexy presentation, but it is very important information. So one metaphor that I liked, did anyone see the Chris Hayes interview? Yes, he did this amazing interview the other day, and I stole his metaphor because I think it's so good. But he basically just said, we are addicted to fossil fuels, and we have to break this addiction, or we will face catastrophic climate change. I mean, that is the line that we have to draw in the sand. Right now, estimates show that we have to leave 80% of current known fossil fuel reserves in the ground. That means we have to abandon it, we have to walk away from it, we have to leave all of that revenue, all of that money in somebody's pocket, not there. We have to leave it in the ground. And that's a lot, but eventually we actually have to make that decision to start doing that. And that's what Keystone XL is really about. It's about drawing a line in the sand and saying we cannot continue building dirty fossil fuel infrastructure if we are going to move our country and our world in the right direction. As Steve mentioned, it emits 3 times more carbon than conventional oil. It also endangers farmland, wildlife, drinking water, and human lives all along the 1,000-mile route. And it does that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for the next 50 years or more. Once it's built, we can't take it back. That sets that policy infrastructure for the foreseeable future, and that is why it's so important. The reason we're all gathered here today is because the State Department released an environmental impact statement on Friday, and it didn't say Obama approved this pipeline. It also didn't say don't approve it. It did mention that there is likely going to be serious carbon impacts as a result of the pipeline. But it also avoided a lot of the more egregious pieces of this. So it really, in some ways, could go either way, right? And President Obama now has several months, is it 90 days, am I right about that, to make a decision about whether or not he's going to give this his stamp of approval or not. And I would not want to be him in this moment. He is getting very heavily lobbied by the other side to approve this project. But he has to say no, and that's why we're here. We're here joining our hands with thousands of people across this country saying, you promised to address climate change. In your last State of the Union address, you promised that, and this is the opposite direction of that, and we have to hold him accountable. So let's see, where am I? So it did say that under certain scenarios, the pipeline could add as much as 27.4 million metric tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which is the equivalent of putting 5.7 million cars on the road. So it's not a small amount of carbon. And there's a lot of misinformation and conjecture about, well, if they don't do the pipeline, they'll ship it through rail or through trucks or through other means and they'll still develop it. And that may be true on a small scale, but nowhere to the degree that this pipeline would facilitate mining tar sands. This is a huge, huge step in the wrong direction. As climate scientist Dr. Michael Mann said, the simple fact is this: if Keystone XL is built, it will be easier to exploit fossil fuel reserves large enough to drastically destabilize the climate. A direct pipeline to refineries and global markets makes the business of polluting the atmosphere that much cheaper and easier. It looks like decades of extracting high CO2 fuel at a time when we should be winding down such carbon-intensive resource exploitation. It looks like decades of oil spills across the America's heartland written off as an acceptable side effect of making money. It looks like decades of continued political lobbying against any carbon limiting regulations. If approved and built, it looks like the United States is failing to take climate change seriously by virtually guaranteeing the massive Canadian oil sands reserves are exploited. That, I'm afraid, is the threat of Keystone XL, the loss of the U.S. status as a leader on this issue. So I think that's why we're here. Is we're drawing a circle on the calendar and saying we're stopping today. This is quitting time, and that's what we have to communicate to President Obama. He needs to hear our voices. He's got a lot of political pressure from the other side, and we have to do with everything within our means to give him the political cover to say no. In his State of the Union address just last week, President Obama said, "The shift to a cleaner energy economy won't happen overnight, and it will require some tough choices. But the debate is settled. Climate change is a fact, and when our children's children look us in the eye and ask if we did all we could to leave them a safer, more stable world with new sources of energy, I want us to be able to say, yes, we did." I want President Obama to be able to say, yes, we did too, and I want him to say no to this pipeline. So I appreciate all of you being here to figure out how we can encourage him to do that. And since I'm also moderating, I will now introduce the next speaker, who is Drew Jones from Climate Interactive, who has been a leader in really global climate conversations and has a very interesting perspective as one of these local climate gyms that we forget we have in Asheville, but they're quite the resource. The good kind.
Thank you, Anna Jane. Hey everybody. I'm Drew Jones with Climate Interactive, you just heard, and my job as head of this company is to run the numbers about what it's going to take to address climate change. We build the simulation models that the US State Department uses in the negotiations, that the Chinese government uses and other countries use as well. And I have a really simple message. The message is this: we can do this. We can do this. And I want you to just consider those 4 words for a second. Like, we can do this. We can do this. Like, try it for yourself. Ready? Can we do this? We can do this. That was really good. I'm here to offer some evidence for that, other than just the rhetoric of we can do this. And really, I think it's critical, though, that we ground ourselves in that fact. We can do this. So some of the evidence, and stepping way, way back to look at changing the drivers and watching the drivers change on their own in some cases. Population. Let's just acknowledge population is driving so much of the consumption that drives the energy use, that drives the emissions of carbon dioxide. Population, we used to think, was just going to grow and grow and grow exponentially. Remember like 40 years ago when we thought that? Now the median UN projection is a balancing. We're at 7 billion, 10 billion. We're expected to balance out over time. That's really working in our favor because of demographic transitions, because of empowerment of women around the world. We have population change now on our side. Consumption. There are many people in the world who are learning how to live better with less. Anybody here learning how to live better with less? Yeah. People are figuring this out slowly and steadily. That's a really important driver of why we can do this. Can we do this? We can do this. We can do this. Public support. The people who are standing up and saying, we deserve a better future. People like Anna Jane and the people I saw here who are chaining themselves to the White House to say, this really matters to us. There was a recent poll, 87% of Americans said that they wanted Congress to support clean energy. 87% of the people are saying that. Now, there aren't that many Americans actually on Earth. The Chinese, there are a lot of Chinese people. Have you seen the air quality, pictures of air quality in China? What do you think that's doing to public support for cleaner energy in China? It's for real that the government is politically vulnerable in China if they don't act on the clean air challenges that they have, and they don't act, frankly, on climate, because more people are learning about that. Can we do this? We can do this. All right. Coal. Coal is the new tobacco. Anyone notice this? Coal is the new tobacco. Yeah. We're finally learning the incredible carbon density of coal, and things are changing radically. Here in the US, I just looked up these numbers today. The use of coal has gone from 50% for electricity generation down to 39% in the last 4 years. Yeah. Can we do this, my friends? What else about coal? The World Bank will not fund any new coal-fired power plants around the world. Thank you, World Bank. Obama's EPA rules make it almost impossible to build a new coal-fired power plant here in the United States. Yeah. Oil. I was in Paris a couple weeks ago actually talking to some really good people within big oil. They exist, by the way. That's really good news. And they told me that there is a lot less oil out there than they used to think there was out there. That is a very good thing for climate change. A lot less oil than everyone has predicted that we were going to burn into the future. Global renewables. Have you seen this bridge in London? I saw a bridge in London that's entirely covered with solar panels. You guys are nodding, you can see this? It's gorgeous. It is a bridge across the Thames entirely covered with PV panels. Why are people putting them up? Because we care about climate change. Why else? Because their price has come down, I looked this up, 60% since 2011. The price of PV is now in many places lower than coal electricity from them. And they're beautiful and they work really great. Dave Hollister, where are you? You put up some on my house. I saw you back here. Yeah, thank you, Dave. Sundance Power, folks. Go get yourself some hot water and some PV panels on your roof. Dad and Mom, you guys got them right there. You got them from, yeah, there you are. They're my parents. They have them on their roof too. They work great. We love them.
Solar Dynamics sitting in the crowd.
Oh, Solar Dynamics. Yeah, let's give it up for Solar Dynamics too. All right, you see this? Competition in the renewable industry. Can we do this? We can do this. Love it. Efficiency. Because of these new laws with CAFE standards in the US, cars are going to go from 30 to 55 miles per gallon over the next decade or so. That's radical improvement. As a result, there are 14 electric vehicles in the US market right now. Much more efficient. 14 electric vehicles. Efficiency is improving radically. I'm doing some work with Brazil right now. Did you know that Brazil has cut its greenhouse gas emissions 40% in the last 5 years? 40% in the last 5 years. US emissions have dropped 12%. We're actually on track to meet our commitments to Copenhagen. But 40%, all that concern about deforestation, people got concerned, people got together and said, let's do something about this, government and people, and it actually has happened. 40% drop in Brazil. There are other gases that matter as well. Methane, N2O, HFCs, all these other gases that are greenhouse gases. US and China just struck a deal to reduce HFCs. Now, HFCs is pretty small, but US and China making treaties over addressing climate change. Can we do this? We can do this. Heck yeah. All right, so put it all together. What did I just tell you? Population, consumption, efficiency, coal, oil, gas, renewables. The state of mind that's behind it all. You put all of this together, and what we get is a path towards climate stability, avoiding the most serious impacts. And just looking and seeing the facts outside of this little US bubble that we're in, it is remarkable to see what's going on in global trends. So how can we do this? How we can do this? One thing I will suggest to you, it is to support this grassroots movement that you can see in this room. The folks in the front, turn around and look at all these beautiful people. Look at these people. Look to your right and your left. Now realize the other 230 things that are going on tonight around the country, and then realize that US is way behind the curve globally of people who are dealing with the impacts of climate change and organizing to do something about it. You have millions and millions of allies around the world that you are together in this movement with. So there's one thing to do. I would say, invest in this movement of all of us together making change in the world. Nurture it, communicate, believe in each other, ask each other how you can help. Be helpful to other people. Believe in this movement overall. Put your arms together, make noise, organize, make more noise, demand results, demand big results. Go out there, make a difference, organize, rise up, make a big sound, and demand a better future for ourselves and our children. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Dr. Richard Fireman, who is right here. Longtime climate activist and inspiring community member, and one of my favorites.
Mentor and hero.
Mentor and hero.
Thanks, Anna Jane and Steve. And I remember the event that Steve talked about 10 years ago. And we filled this room up just like it is today. And I'm amazed that it's Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock. The State Department released its report, and 3 days later, we're all here, committed. It's amazing. I thought I was going to follow Amy, and that's a hard act to follow, and it's also a hard act to follow Drew, and I'm going to be very, very brief. In last year's State of the Union message, not the one previously, Obama said, "This is our first task, caring for our children. It's our first job. If we don't get that right, we won't get anything right." That's how, as a society, we will be judged. That's how, as a society, we will be judged. Not just President Obama. We will be judged. If we put enough pressure on the president, he may have to change course. I'm a intellectual pessimist and a moral optimist. I think the president can do the right thing, even with all the pressure on him from the Canadian government, from the oil companies, from the powers that be. We are this close from devolving into a fascist state. We are this close. Some people would say we're already there. We are this close. So we have to step it up. We really have to step it up. So there's probably 150, 200 people in this room. We need to magnify that. Everybody here has to get 10 friends and colleagues and relatives into this movement, because this process, this tonight, is the first response after the State Department's report. There's public comments for 30 days, there's 90 days of official comments, there's other agencies that are going to weigh in. We need to make a ruckus, a loud ruckus. 70,000 people have already volunteered that they are going to risk arrest this spring over the Keystone Pipeline issue. That should be magnified tenfold at least. 1 million people should go to Washington, D.C., or to their federal buildings. I don't know what's being planned, but I can guarantee you I'm going to be at one of them at least. And I hope that everybody here can make that commitment to keep their eyes and ears open and show up when we need to show up and make a ruckus. We need to step it up. Not only, I mean, as Drew said, there are changes that are happening that are good signs, but they're small signs. The amount of carbon that we have to reduce in the next decade or two is astronomical. Some of the scientists say that we have to leave 80% of the carbon in the ground, and we have to reduce our carbon production in the United States by 5 to 10% a year. Can you make that commitment? I mean, we need to all make that commitment, because we're living high off the hog in this country. Not all of us. I know not all of us, but lots of us are. So we have to step it up. One other piece of very good news that I know most of you are well aware of is that we now have a new leader in North Carolina, in Reverend Barber of the NAACP. If you haven't heard him speak in public, go on YouTube and Google him and just get a sense of the message that he's carrying. And there's an ecological justice message there too. So in 1 week, not 1 week, 5 days actually, there's going to be buses coming down from all over the state, and I think all over the country, to a moral march in Raleigh on Saturday the 8th. If you haven't signed up, just Google Moral March on Raleigh and learn about that. We have allies in our community who are not environmentalists per se, but they understand what's happening. We have to spend some of our energy helping them with voter registration and minimum wage fights. And we have to join forces. We have to make a movement here in North Carolina for our own good, and we have to do the big job at Keystone and against mountaintop removal mining and against fracking. There's a big list of things that have to happen. We're the leaders right here. Everybody in this room showed up on Monday night on short notice. We're the leaders. So let's go and lead.
Our next speakers are Abby and Claire Indy, who are wonderful. Or just Claire Indy. Or is it? Are you going?
Hi, my name is Claire Indy, and I'm a junior at Asheville High School. Last year, I attended a semester school called the Outdoor Academy, where I took a class called Environmental Seminar. In this class, we discussed climate change and its causes and effects, and one day we made a simple list, and it included about 12 or so bullet points. And this was only a short list that we threw together in a few moments, but I know there are many more negative effects of climate change, and you know that, and we all know this. And we know that the Keystone Pipeline will only make climate change worse. So why is it even a question that we should never build the Keystone Pipeline? I've heard that the building of the Keystone Pipeline will mean game over for climate change. Why would we intentionally sentence ourselves to game over? And for what? Oil? Money? I promise you, life will go on if we do not have oil. We will have to adapt our lives and make some changes, but it's not an impossible feat. In my history class, we're learning about the captains of industry during the late 19th century and their massive business empires. One of these business empires was Standard Oil. Standard Oil was huge and dominated the entire oil industry. It made a few people extremely rich and influenced government to do what Standard Oil wanted. Even though Standard Oil was broken up in 1911, we still have a similar situation today. Huge corporations are still influencing our government. With this being said, I know Obama is under a lot of pressure from many different people, but I know that being the President of the United States is much more complicated than I can understand, but I dearly hope that he will make the right decision to say no to the Keystone Pipeline.
Those in other countries will feel the whole toll of climate change. Those people don't deserve rising sea levels that might take them home, or tropical diseases that could kill them. They don't deserve worsening natural disasters like hurricanes. When climate change fully hits our world, most of the impoverished people will not be able to move because they do not have the money available. We can help them. We have the resources to change the world. How can you say yes to such a horrible idea as the Keystone Pipeline? You have kids my age, President Obama. How could you let their lives go down the drain? President Obama, you have the power to give your children and other kids a better life. Isn't that your goal each and every day?
So now we've been talking a lot about what is happening and why this is such an important issue. We wanted to give you some tools to do something about it. So Debbie Gins is going to start us off, and then Emma is going to close us out, and then we'll have some songs.
Hi, I'm Debbie. Community and engage in acts of dignified, peaceful, civil disobedience that could result in my arrest in order to send a message to President Obama and his administration that they must reject the Keystone XL pipeline. Here in Asheville, we are preparing for that action should the State Department recommend approval of the Keystone Pipeline. We've trained over 50 people who are willing to risk arrest here at our federal building. Could I ask if any of those who are present who have signed the pledge and are willing? We will be doing one last training for this action on Saturday, February 22nd, and I invite you to join us. We would like to have 100 or more people stand with us. And we are part of a massive wave of similar civil disobedience actions around the country. This is an action coordinated by Rainforest Action Network, Credo, and the other 98%. Greg and Lori have sign-up sheets and will be in the back of the room if you would like to sign up. This action, we need some supportive people. You don't have to risk arrest. There are other roles to play. And if you can't do it on the 22nd, but you're interested, sign up your name on the sheet and we'll see what we can do to include you in the action. You must have done the training to participate in this action unless you've had civil disobedience training elsewhere. And then we'll be doing a short training just to fill you in on what the action is going to look like. So we want to send a strong message to President Obama that we are not willing to let the bankers and the oil companies profit while the planet inevitably warms. Now is the time. This is a call for brave and extraordinary measures. Let all of us antibodies rise up together. Thank you.
And then we're going to do some, the Green Grannies have some songs for us. And we do have candles. It is a candlelight vigil. I did not get organized enough to bring matches or lighters for everyone. If you have them, please share them. I was thinking, could we do the candles while y'all are singing? Would that be appropriate? Yeah. So we'll just, we'll do that. So after it gives us some more action items, ways to get part of this movement. All of you are obviously very passionate to be here, and there are many different ways that we can advocate and use our voice to make a difference. So thank you to all the speakers to date, again to First Presbyterian, to 350.org, to the Western North Carolina Alliance and the Sierra Club, and all of the groups who were a part of pulling this together extremely last minute. But most of all, thanks to you for being here.
Hi guys, how's it going? Can you hear me okay?
You have to speak kind of
Speak into it. Okay. Hi, my name's Emma Greenbaum. I am the Sierra Club's Beyond Coal organizer here in Asheville, and I'm working statewide fighting coal plants and fighting Duke Energy. So the first thing that I wanted to say is that this work, organizing and putting on these events, is really hard. And normally it takes us like weeks to get this number of people into a room. And I am so moved by how many people are here tonight. It's really incredible. And one of the reasons for that is because the fossil fuel industry wants to divide us. They want to divide us by type of fossil fuel that we're burning. I work on coal. Debbie works on the pipeline. And last year, some documents were released, basically TransCanada looking at what responses could be to the pipeline and how they would get it through. And let me tell you, this is their worst nightmare. Having a response like this is their worst nightmare. There are around 300 events happening tonight. Over a 3-day period, this was planned in 48 states. 48 states. I've never seen anything like it, and the coordination across different environmental groups has been absolutely spectacular. So thank you guys for being here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Beyond Coal campaign and what we're working on, because again, this isn't just about the pipeline. This is about a movement against climate change. And if we want to have a robust movement against climate change, we have to be fighting on all fronts. So the focus of our work in Asheville has been around the Asheville coal plant. It's a 414 megawatt coal plant down in Arden. It's those big smokestacks you see on the way into town from the airport. So there are 3 issues that we're really concerned about with this coal plant. The first one is the sourcing. They're burning mountaintop removal coal. So they blow up mountains just as beautiful as ours to get at these last remaining coal seams to bring them in state and burn them here. And then it creates coal ash waste. So I actually have a bit of bad news to share with you tonight. Later this afternoon, there was news broken that at the Dan River coal plant near Eden, there was a coal ash spill into the river. So they're not sure about the extent of the damage, but it just really goes to show that this stuff is dangerous and we need to clean it up. And that's one of the big pieces of our campaign here in Asheville, is that we will not be satisfied if they just retire the coal plant. They have to clean up the coal ash. And we need better tape. So we're also realizing that Duke Energy is spending a lot of money and sending it out of state to bring coal in state. So this was kind of staggering to me when I learned it, but Duke Energy sends $1.8 billion out of state every single year to buy coal and bring it in to burn here. $1.8 billion a year. So per capita, that's about $180 per person in this room that Duke Energy is spending to bring coal into our state, burn it, pollute our air, and pollute our water. And that's in comparison with about $6.33 per capita that they spend on energy efficiency. So when you really think about what you could do with that amount, putting it into energy efficiency and putting it into other solutions, it's really quite staggering. So, like Drew said, we can do this. We can do this. We can do this. That is great. So there are solutions. Solar is a huge, huge solution. And this past year with Solarize Asheville and then Solarize campaigns springing up in Durham and Greensboro and Charlotte and Raleigh, Duke Energy is shaking in their boots. And we know that they are shaking in their boots because this year they are launching an attack on net metering. So this is going to be a huge, huge fight that we need to be involved in this year. They're attacking our ability to make it economical to get solar. And they're doing this because of the movement that's sprung up. It could have been down the line, but I firmly believe that the reason this fight is now is because of the Solarize movement. We also have the best offshore wind resource on the entire East Coast. We have long, shallow coasts. We have a really good opportunity to do it, and we haven't been able to yet. And efficiency. Efficiency is huge. That's just, we don't need to generate the energy. That's just our houses are more comfortable and our energy bills are cheaper. It's a great, great solution, and it can create jobs that cannot be outsourced because you can't ship people's houses overseas. You have to do the work here. And we have all the tools that we need to do that kind of work. We know how to put insulation in. We know how to create better windows, and all of that stuff can happen here, and it can happen in North Carolina. So we're missing out on a really huge opportunity to innovate by sending all of these dollars out of state to bring in dirty coal. So I wanted to tell you guys about a few different opportunities and how you can engage further on the pipeline. One thing I will say is talk to Debbie. I want to reiterate, sign the pledge, get involved in some way. Again, you don't have to be arrested in order to be involved. The second few things. So again, the attack on net metering. So Duke Energy has some solar projects going, and later last year they were given an opportunity to speak at Asheville Green Drinks. Do people go to Green Drinks? Yeah. Cool. So Duke Energy is going to be speaking on the 12th at Green Drinks. So we have an opportunity to engage with them and really hold their feet to the fire about this attack on net metering, because they are saying on one hand that they support solar, and on the other hand are really trying to make it much more difficult for this distributed generation that is really going to be the solution. We also have on Sunday, Yogis Beyond Coal. This is a movement that a lot of folks have been getting involved in. Lisa back there is one of our leaders on it. So what that is we get together, you'll get to learn more about Yogis Beyond Coal and about the Beyond Coal campaign. We have chocolate and tea, and kirtan and yoga. Any yoga practitioners, yogis in the room? It's really fun. I didn't used to do yoga. And then the next thing, so on your table, hopefully you see some talking points. Again, what did Richard call it? Intellectual pessimist. Thought there wouldn't be quite as many people here, so we don't have a whole lot of talking points. But if you have just a couple of minutes, please stay, look over these talking points, and actually write out a letter to the editor. So the reason that Obama is going to get heat is because he's going to find out that in the media all across the country, people were turning out to say, Obama, stop the pipeline. That's what's going to make the difference, is Obama hearing about it and knowing that he cannot make this decision to let this pipeline proceed. So please, if you have a minute, 200 words, keep it simple, keep it personal, why you care about this, why climate change is a huge issue for you, and it'll make a really big difference. So there will be more things forthcoming, more opportunities to send comments into the EPA and to President Obama, but those are the really big things right now. So thank you again all for coming. This is really huge, and I'm glad to be a part of this movement with all of you.
Last but not least, we have the Green Grannies. They're going to sing us some songs, and we're going to do a candlelight vigil. We'll dim the lights a little bit. Please do be very careful. As Reverend Mark mentioned, we don't want any more excitement for the evening. Also, I did want to mention that there are really important points that are on the talking points documents that are available online through Googling Keystone XL that we weren't able to get to. For example, just kind of the misnomer of rail being a good second option if this pipeline isn't built. The fact that most of this oil would go overseas, it wouldn't go towards building the American economy. There's lots of these things that we just weren't able to get to because we did pull this together very last minute. But I think that if you want more information and you don't get a chance to grab a talking points document, talk to me or Emma or Debbie. We'd be happy to point you in the right direction to get more of those facts to help you be better advocates. So thank you again for coming, and let's have some songs.
Stands in the ground, the coal under mountain tops, 'cause we need clean air in our lungs and clean water in our cups. Yes, we can say no tar sands, this pipeline points to hell. And true homeland security is something you don't sell. We won't trade our children's birthright for a mess of tar, 'cause we like our climate livable and our coast right where they are. So leave the tar sands in the ground, the coal under mountain tops, 'cause we need clean air in our lungs and clean water in our cups. President Obama, we helped put you where you are. Now don't you trade our children's birthright for a mess of tar. So yes, you can say no tar sands, this pipeline points to hell. And true homeland security is something you don't sell. So leave the tar sands in the ground, the coal under mountain tops, 'cause we need clean air in our lungs and clean water in our cups. Are we willing to be the change? Well, I believe we are, 'cause we like our climate livable and our coasts right where they are. So leave the tar sands in the ground, the coal under mountain tops, 'cause we need clean air in our lungs and clean water in our cups.
Do it now. All right, this last song, please join in with us once you get the hang of it. This is a song that we learned about because it's sung in Europe where whole towns turn out, everybody singing this song. We get together every third Saturday at Vance Monument, and we've been hoping that the whole town would start to come along with us. So after you learn the song, join us.
4 or 5.
At 4 o'clock in the winter, 5 o'clock in the summer. All right.
We need to wake up, we need to wise up, we need to open our eyes and do it now, now, now. We need to build a better future, and we need to start right now. We're on a planet that has a problem. We've got to solve it, get involved and do it now, now, now. We need to build a better future, and we need to start right now. Make it greener, make it greener, make it cleaner, make it cleaner, make it last, make it fast, and do it now, now, now. We need to build a better future, and we need to start right now. No point in waiting or hesitating. We've got to get wise, take no more lies, and do it now, now, now. We need to build a better future, and we need to start right now. We're on a planet that has a problem. We've got to solve it, get involved and do it now, now, now. We need to build a better future, and we need to start right now. Make make it greener, make it greener, make it cleaner, make it cleaner, make it last, make it fast, and do it now, now, now. We need to build a better future, and we need to